All right, let's get started. My name is Aaron Chen. Hello, everybody. I'm here at Sophos. I'm an SC here at Sophos. Welcome to part 2 of the Sophos Synchronized Series webinar. Click on the slide here. A couple of days ago, my teammate Kevin Gibbons presented Intercept X. Today, I will show Sophos email and Phish threat. A couple of things to keep in mind as I go through this very brief demo. The first thing is that when it comes to security, right, you always want to reduce the attack surface, and oftentimes that is those are your users, especially around email, right? So they oftentimes pose the biggest risk, especially those who are click happy. And the second thing is that email within Sophos here is powered by Sophos Labs, right? The brain behind the operations, right, for Sophos Intercept X. So you can be confident that, any malware, phishing emails, and things like that will get blocked out, using our technologies here. And the other thing about Sophos is, the huge competitive differentiator for Sophos is synchronized security. All Sophos products are connected. They all talk to one another, right? So I'll be sure to highlight those during the demo. So let me switch my screen here. Over to Sophos Central Dashboard. So this dashboard to you should be familiar if you were here, a couple of days ago with Kevin Gibbons. What he showed us was, endpoint and server, right? So oftentimes, half of our customers are probably on endpoints and servers, right? So to get on other products, it's extremely, extremely easy, right? So for example, if you have Active Directory, right, you can import your users and your devices here, right? So with that information already in here, right, you got your names, you got the machine names and your email addresses and things like that, address books, all of that stuff. You don't have to, reconfigure again because that information is already here. It's just a license activation, really, to enable other products within this platform, right? So super simple. And oh yeah, let me call up the first synchronized security, use case here, right? So because all the products talks to one another, right? One of the key things that we could do is compromise mailbox detection. What that means is that, email gateway obviously filters, emails on the way in, but also protects emails from going out as well, right? So one of the key pieces that it could do is if it detects a user sending outbound spam, right? Outbound spam messages, that's bad, right? Obviously, it's not malware coming in, but the embarrassment of sharing, with your business partner that your users are sending spam to them, right? So what Sophos would do in this case is that it will temporarily block out the outbound email, right? Automatically runs Sophos Intercept X scan, the Sophos clean and all that stuff. Make sure the endpoint is clean, right? And then after that, automatically turns on outbound email for that user again, right? So that's done automatically just by owning multiple, Sophos products, right? So that's the first one. There's some more as well. So let me dive into email gateway here, right? So once you zoom in to this, to that link, everything that you see right now are related to email, very similar to endpoint. You'll see, not only the way the color schemes, the navigations, the policies as well, right? So once you learn one Sophos product, you basically automatically know how to use the other product because the way it's configured, the way it works is they're very similar. So when it comes to policies, a great way to show some of the features that we have with email gateway, right? So there are two sets. One is email security. Email security basically, talking about keeping the bad stuff out, right? Data loss prevention, on the other hand, is keeping the good stuff in, right? So one is protecting stuff, inbound, right? We don't want the bad stuff coming in, and keeping the good stuff inside. If we have to send something, right, we want to make sure that it's secure. So that leads to data loss prevention. So as you would imagine, it would include, a lot of the templates, that relates to compliance and things like HIPAA, like SOX, PCI, personal identifiable data, right? If we see any of that data on email message body or filed attachments, right, and there are thresholds that you can configure. For example, if I see any email, whether it's attachment or message body, contains 10 or more social security numbers, tagged along with a name and email address, right? Flag those, right? Either I can block them, right? I can alert them, or I can even send it for encryption, right? So yeah, so encryption is included with the product, right? So this will allow your users to send encrypted messages to whoever they intend it to, right? And also, whoever is replying to those messages can also be encrypted as well, right? So that's also part of the product. And it can be triggered by tying into a DLP policy. It can be manually triggered using an Outlook button, or simply put in certain key strings like secure colon or something on the subject header, right? So that all can be configured. Now let's jump into the email security part, right? So let's jump to the policy, right? Very easy to use. You've seen this before with endpoint, with users, groups, domains, and settings, right? Settings is where we check off all the security features. Now, this is a short demo, so I'm not going to go and do a deep dive onto every single feature, because some of these are, similar to other email security products from other vendors too, right? So things that you would expect. We're not going to go deep, right? So obviously, spam filtering, the ability to, delete, quarantine, or tag subject lines for these things, right? The option to give you, whether based on business use cases, you may or may not want your users to have their own allow a block list, right? So that falls under, smart banners. And anything that's in users quarantine, right, can be reviewed in the user portal, right? They can log into their version of Social Central, or simply, most customers would just send a quarantine summary email, right? So if a user have any, stuff in quarantine, they'll get notified multiple times per day, throughout the day. If they don't have anything in quarantine, they're not going to be bothered with the email. They're not going to get one, right? So simply easy. And they can release it directly from the quarantine or delete it. We have some built-in sender checks as well. DMARC, SPF, DKIM, they're pretty standard. We support them all, right? And then my favorite one is DMARC, where we can just conform to sender policy, right? That's the best way to do it, in my opinion. The other piece is header anomaly. Now, this is a social technology, and this is really cool. This is anti-spoofing technology, really, right? It's a text email that appears to come from your domain, but it originated externally, right? So it's a big red flag, right? Internal emails, we should never see it. If you're on Office 365, right, it's internal Office 365, the traffic. This is sitting in the gateway, where if we detect any emails coming from the outside, we will certainly flag it, right? So we can tag subject line, we can quarantine, and things like that. Coming down here, we have time of click protection, right? So this is URL rewrite, meaning we check things twice to prevent delay attacks. So when somebody gets an email, obviously it's very web rich, right? So a lot of URLs in there. So during the time that was sent, that we received by us, we inspect it. Now every time the user click on a URL that's passed to us, we check it again, right? Just in case there's some kind of delay attack, right? So based on some of the risk or reputation, right? We can block it, we can warn it, and things like that. And for attachments, we have sandboxing, and that's what we call cloud, the sandstorm option, right? So this is basically allowing us to, in the cloud, detonate attachments, right? To make sure that not only it checks for all the security checks, but we actually detonate it in the cloud, apply machine learning to it, right? To make sure that it's clean before we let that attachment go to the user's inbox. And then lastly here, we have impersonation protection, right? So this is another form of spoof protection, right? Here, we look at lookalike domains and lookalike display names, right? So for example, you would imagine, the gmail.com, the Amazon, the Microsoft.com, there's so many ways of spelling it that still looks like Microsoft.com, right? For example, right? The 0 looks like an O, right? So we have AI to look at those type of lookalike domains. Secondly, we also have the ability to allow you to set up some of the VIPs in your environment that is, potentially high risk to be spoofed, right? Good examples are like the CEOs, the CFOs, right? People that are public figures that easily people can find their email address or name in social media like LinkedIn, right? And they can spoof that type of messaging to attack the users to basically lure them into click on certain things, or in some cases, like send money or things like that, right? So this is really cool. Basically identifying lookalike names based on your VIP list. So if we see somebody, right, from CEO at company.com, but it actually has that same name, but it's coming from Gmail or any other domain, right? We flag those, right? So it's a really good way to prevent any type of phishing activities. So speaking of phishing, right? Let me jump into the report section here, right, to call out some of the high-risk users, right? So users that are potentially, I think a lot of us know who those users are, especially the admins where their endpoints always gets compromised. They're the ones that get the viruses, and they complain that, this and that, where when an email comes in, they don't even look at it, and they just click on certain things, right? Easily phishable people. Those are your higher risk users. And we identified those automatically, right? So for example, I got 2 users here, right? Let's call out David O. High risk user with a ranking of 6, and he received impersonation emails, as well as a bunch of URLs that he clicked that were high risk, right? And so these users are called out, and with the click of a button here, right, I can train these users using Sophos Phish Threat. The Sophos Phish Threat is a phishing simulation tool and security awareness training, right? So it's also part of Sophos Central. And like I said, all the products talk to one another, right? So with one click of a button, now I'm prompted with the wizard to create a campaign to train those users, right? And also the ability to, send simulated emails so that they know, they're gonna be tested on and be aware and how to, not click on those phishing emails again, right? So I'm gonna pick on credential harvesting in this campaign. So this is to lure target users to enter credentials, right, on a fake website. I'm gonna check this off. Click next. So everything is wizard driven, so really can't go wrong with setting up, a campaign, right? So in this case here, I can pick the difficulty level, right? Most people start with easy, meaning, the user should be able to see that this is a phishing link, right? And they can report it too. So we have an Outlook button to help them report this to you so that you can track who are the good apples and who are the bad apples in the environment. So let's say your organization is on Office 365, right? So I'm going to pick this attack related to, luring people to enter their Microsoft account. And then next is to, whether or not to enforce training, right? So not everybody needs training, only the people who fail, who clicked on this link, right? So in this case here, since it's all about phishing, right? Let me just do a simple one with HTML. We have a bunch of video ones too. They are Ninja videos that are, they're, basically their animations are really short, like 2 to 5 minutes. So we certainly don't want to put a lot of stress on the users, right? We want to get their attention, give them the information, short and sweet, so that they learn that way. So I'll use this "Don't Take the Bait" training module, and to kind of wrap this up. It will let you know that this is the summary of what the campaign looks like, right? So this is the attack email. This is what it looks like, right? And this is the attack landing page if they click on any of those links, right? So this is prompting them to enter the credentials for this fake Microsoft website. And then if they do get caught landing, right, this will let them know that this is not a real attack, right? But it could have been. And then next, we have a reminder email so that they can go and do the training if they haven't done it yet, right? And this is the training landing page, right? So all in all, that's what Sophos Phish Threat and Sophos email is about, right? So so a couple of things to wrap up, right? So header anomalies are looking for spoof email protection, right? So we hit on all of that stuff. The lookalike domains, the impersonations, and things like that. The product also includes cloud sandboxing, right? URL protection, DLP, end-to-end encryption. All of that stuff are included. And all these products are synchronized. They're interconnected, right? They all talk to one another. They can trigger alerts. They can, trigger scans. They can, set up wizards so that, makes things easier for the administrator, right? So, and then, yeah, ultimately, right, this whole product is powered by, Sophos Central with Sophos Labs as well, right? So Intercept X is the Gartner leading product for, for all the security. So, that same security also applies to email. So you can be confident that the efficacy level of, of our products are extremely high. All right, so thank you so much for your time. There will be a 3-question survey immediately following this. So be sure to check off an option so that you can, option for a deeper dive onto all the security features that, that we didn't get to go over today, especially around user experience, right? We didn't have time to go over that. So make sure you check that off, and, we'll be happy to show you a little bit more about, Sophos email as well as Phish. Thank you so much.